Okay, so Power Slap ended up releasing two fights from Power Slap 8. There were the early prelims, the ones that were not televised and kept secret. Um, so the one that I'm going to go over today is the Branden Bordeaux versus Branden Rhodes fight. It was probably the one on the prelims that I was looking forward to the most, just because Bordeaux is a contender at middleweight, and middleweight is absolutely stacked. One of my favorite divisions, as I've mentioned in the past. He was taking on Branden Rhodes, who's a newcomer to Power Slap. I believe this was his debut on an actual Power Slap event. However, he is on the new season of Road to the Title 3, which just premiered last night. I'm going to do my own video on that first episode separately, but I broke down every match at Power Slap 8, and so I'm going to do that for the prelims as well as they're released. So I wouldn't say this was a good fight, but it was an entertaining fight. It was a good fight by Bordeaux, but it was pretty sloppy on the road side. Understandably, I don't know how many fights he got in on the show. We haven't even seen him yet, and who knows? I mean, it could have been a one and done. He could have gotten plenty of chances and won and moved on. If he's on Power Slap 8 on the prelims, I would have to imagine they at least did decent on the show. So I would have to imagine that maybe he had one or two fights on the show prior, but still, under the bright lights on a Power Slap stage with the commentary, I mean, that'll do something to you. So I'm sure he was nervous, and there was a lack of experience that definitely showed in this fight. So Bordeaux ended up winning in the second round by DQ due to two striker fouls by Rhodes. To start, I'm going to start with Bordeaux because he was really the story of this fight. He's been on the rise for a while now. Not known as a huge hitter. I believe all of his fights that he's had have gone to decision besides this one. This should be the first that hasn't, which is not to say that he doesn't have power. Two of his fights were against Eddie Brahimer, who has an absolute granite chin. I mean, most people aren't putting him out. I don't think anybody's ever put him out. So you can't really, you can't blame people for saying that he doesn't have knockout power, but you also have to know that that's just simply not necessarily true. And I think he showed in this fight that he definitely does have power. I mean, I was very impressed with Branden Rhodes' chin, and I was also very impressed with how he recovered when he did get knocked down. I thought that they could have and probably should have stopped the fight on that second strike by Bordeaux, but it was just a testament to the recovery skill and wherewithal by Rhodes to be able to get up, realize that he wasn't okay yet, go back down to a knee for another 2 seconds, and then when it hit 8, pop back up. If he doesn't do that and he tries to stay on his feet the first time, the fight's definitely over. I mean, they almost stopped it even when he did that, and I think that they probably should have stopped it. I tend to lean towards let him go because that's what they're there for. And even, you got to understand that even after the 10 count, if they say they're okay, they still technically have, another minute to recover before they have to strike again. So if it's on the fence, I tend to lean towards letting it go, which I'm glad they did. But anyway, so Bordeaux won the coin toss, was striking first. He comes out, he looked in really good shape. It's kind of tough to tell sometimes with the jersey, but I mean, the guy is jacked, dude. He's straight up jacked. Very, intimidating as far as looks go. And so it's very ironic when you look at the guy, you would think, hey, he probably has a bunch of KOs, but it's not the case. But if this fight doesn't get stopped due to DQs, this would have been his first knockout win. Rhodes barely hung on the second strike, and I just find it very hard to believe that he would have been able to eat a third one and get his last slap. So kind of an unlucky break for Bordeaux. I think that the win might slide under the radar a little bit just due to it being a DQ loss when, in my opinion, it really should go down as a TKO win. they could have stopped the fight on the second one. And the fact that he didn't get a third slap, he definitely would have went out on the third slap. But I mean, kudos to Rhodes. He hung in there. He proved he has a chin. He definitely has some power, you can see, but it was just sloppy, lack of experience. So the first slap, he rocked Rhodes pretty good. He didn't go down, but he definitely wobbled and had to gather himself and breathe, and the ref took a good look at him on the first one. It was just an absolutely perfect strike by Bordeaux. I mean, he's been doing this new technique that I just noticed, and I actually posted about it on my Instagram, and he commented saying good eye and thanks for noticing. So he did this thing where he would measure, and then when he brought it back, he would cup his hand. He would cup his hand so that it would become smaller. And what happens there is there's less surface area and less drag and resistance as far as pushing through the air. So it comes back cleaner. And then he kept it cupped on the way forward, which again, the less surface area and open surface that you have for the air to push against, the quicker and easier it will be to navigate through the air while you're completing the strike. So it was very impressive, and I noticed it instantly that he was cupping his hand on the way back and on the way through. And it was just, he started to go on one, which I don't think he normally does. So he's definitely been putting work in, you can tell. But anyway, it was right on the money, rocked him. Rhodes recovered nice. Went back to his corner, chalked up, came back, and on his first slap, ended up stepping pretty bad, to be honest. I was a little surprised at how bad the step was. I think that it was a lot to do with how rocked he was. I really do. I mean, you have to understand that, like, just because you recover from a slap and you get the second slap, just because you're okay on after it and you get the slap, doesn't mean that, like, you're still there. So I think that he was definitely still a little rocked, because that was a pretty egregious step in my opinion, especially for somebody that came off Road to the Title Season 3, so he definitely knows the rules. So yeah, anyway, he gets called for a step, and Bordeaux ate it no matter what. So Rhodes ended up losing a point. Goes back, and on Bordeaux's second slap, he absolutely rocks him, knocks him down. Rhodes tries to get up, is a little wobbly, then goes down to a knee for about 2 more seconds. And then when it hit the 8 count, he pops back up again, gathered himself, took a deep breath, was able to walk straight to the ref. And he's an incredible actor. I mean, that guy should have won an Academy Award for that. He played that off. Again, I think that they could have and probably should have stopped it. I'm glad they didn't. They gave him a chance. But yeah, I think that they definitely could have stopped it. So somehow he was able to recover. And then on his second slap against Bordeaux, he ends up getting hit with a clubbing foul. It was a bad strike, but I think that it was a very bad strike, to be honest. Like, I hate to be, ruthless, but it was a very bad strike. It didn't even hit his face. It hit his neck. I think that, again, it was compounding from the damage that he's taken over the first 2 slaps. I doubt he was seeing straight. I'd be curious to know how he was feeling in that moment, because I think that, again, even with the lack of experience, I mean, he was off the show and he knows how to strike and what the rules are. So I really think that he was more rocked than anything. But yeah, he didn't even hit his face. He hit his straight neck, clubbing foul. As we know, 2 offensive fouls in a 3-round fight is an automatic DQ. So Bordeaux gets the win. It was impressive. And again, I think that it's going to fly under the radar a little bit just because it was a DQ, when if he got another strike in the 3rd round, I think that it was absolutely on its way to being a TKO win. So very impressive by Bordeaux. And it puts him in a good spot at middleweight. I mean, he was, I believe, either number 4 or number 5 coming into it. And so he's definitely still right up there as far as the title shot goes. I still do not think they're going to give it to him. I think they're going to give it to either Isaiah or Azael. But if you're Bordeaux, I mean, you might consider, if you don't get this fight, you might consider sitting out Power Slap 9. Generally, it's not a good idea. So if he likes the matchup, I don't like him sitting out necessarily, but I would not blame him for sitting out coming off that win. And trying to wait for his title shot. I think that if they did give him a title shot, I wouldn't be mad about it at all. I mean, he's looked good, and he's honestly, I think out of most people in power, like in the last couple, he's made the most improvements. I mean, that is an innovative strike. I don't know who he's working with, but that was innovative. And I mean, the guy never steps. His feet were plastered to the floor at the whole time. So again, super impressive by him. I was on him to begin with. Like I've talked a little bit about him in a previous middleweight, and I think very highly of him, and I think even more highly of him now. For Rhodes, I think that he has potential for sure. I mean, the guy has a chin. Even with the lack of experience, he showed that he knows how to recover when he's rocked and is not afraid to take a slap, most importantly. So I think that he's got some potential, and I'm looking forward to seeing him compete again, as well as on the road to the title season 3. So yeah, I wouldn't say it was a good fight just because of like the DQ and it being a little sloppy on his side, but again, super impressive from Bordeaux, and it was entertaining at the very least. Like it was an entertaining fight, so I was happy with it. And yeah, they also released the Housley versus Greenhall fight, which I'm gonna do separately. But yeah, so look out for that, and then look out for my recap of the first episode of Road to the Title Season 3.